Outsmarted by humans. Yes, they turned the floor into a weapon. The Vraxian hegemony made first contact with Earth in 2137. Their massive ships appeared suddenly, hovering above major cities worldwide. The aliens called themselves benefactors and offered Earth membership in the Galactic Consortium. Their ships gleamed with technology centuries beyond human understanding. Commander Kang stood tall among the Vraxian delegation. His gray skin stretched tight over sharp facial features. 12 successful conquest campaigns had taught him that humans would be no different from other species, primitive and easily manipulated. "Your planet shows promise," Kang told the United Nations representatives. "With our guidance, you might achieve true civilization within a few generations." The human delegates nodded respectfully, though something in their eyes made Kang uncomfortable. The lead human negotiator, June, spoke with measured words. "We appreciate your generous offer and welcome the chance to learn from your advanced civilization." Behind closed doors, the Vraxian officers laughed at how eagerly humans accepted their technology. It was always the same strategy: offer shiny gifts, infiltrate governance, and then launch a surprise invasion. The hegemony had conquered 46 species this way. "These humans are even more gullible than the others," Lieutenant Park told Commander Kang. "They've already begun integrating our communication systems into their infrastructure." What the Vraxians didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for alien contact for centuries. Science fiction had trained humanity to be suspicious. Within weeks, human scientists began taking apart Vraxian technology. Dr. Kim led the reverse engineering team at the Global Defense Initiative. "They built these systems to be understood by many species," she explained to military leaders. "That means we can understand them too." While the Vraxians believed humans were simply adopting their gifts, Earth's military was studying every weakness in the alien technology. They discovered unusual energy signatures from Vraxian ships, weapons being charged in secret. During diplomatic meetings, June surprised Commander Kang by negotiating surprisingly favorable terms. "Your request for mining rights seems excessive," June said calmly. "Perhaps we could discuss alternative arrangements." Junior Vraxian officer Yuna whispered concerns to Commander Kang. "Sir, these humans are not behaving like other species. During first contact, they're asking too many specific questions about our propulsion systems." Kang dismissed her worries. "All primitive species are curious. It means nothing." 3 months after first contact, Vraxian cultural advisors had established bases in every major human city. These advisors were actually military scouts mapping strategic targets. What the Vraxians didn't realize was that humans watched everything. Military analyst Han noticed patterns in Vraxian movement. "They're conducting reconnaissance, not cultural exchange," he reported. The hegemony's ships continued arriving in Earth orbit, officially bringing diplomatic delegations, but actually positioning for invasion. Commander Kang grew confident, sending reports back to the Vraxian homeworld that Earth would fall easily. "The humans have no unified military strategy," he wrote. "Their weapons are primitive. They spend more time arguing among themselves than preparing defenses." Meanwhile, Dr. Kim made a breakthrough. She discovered that Vraxians had unique sensory organs in their feet, giving them exceptional spatial awareness in combat, but potentially offering a critical weakness. "They evolved on a planet with constant electromagnetic storms," she explained. "Their feet can sense fields that we can't even detect without instruments." When Vraxian engineers installed gift technology in human buildings, they insisted on specific flooring materials, supposedly for optimal energy flow. Dr. Kim realized this was to accommodate their foot sensors. 6 months into the friendship, President Lee addressed Earth's Hidden Defense Council. "The Vraxians believe we're helpless. This gives us our only advantage: surprise." Commander Kang grew increasingly puzzled by human behavior. They seemed both cooperative and secretive. When he questioned June about unusual energy readings from research facilities, the human smiled. "Just some experiments with your generous technological gifts. We're quick learners." Kang should have been worried by that statement. Instead, he interpreted it as primitive pride. "All species believe they are special before we conquer them," he told his officers. As the Vraxian invasion fleet secretly assembled at the edge of the solar system, humans were preparing their own surprise. Dr. Kim's team developed a special flooring material that could generate electromagnetic patterns that would overwhelm Vraxian sensory organs. If it works, she told President Lee, we can incapacitate their ground forces without firing a shot. The countdown to invasion had begun. Commander Kang reviewed the battle plans one final time, confident in victory. Little did he know that humans had turned something as simple as the floor into a devastating weapon against his kind. Outsmarted by humans, yes, they turned the floor into a weapon. 3 years after first contact, the Vraxian invasion fleet entered Earth's solar system. Hundreds of warships emerged from hyperspace, their metal hulls gleaming against the darkness of space. The pretense of friendship was over. Commander Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen. His gray lips curved into what passed for a smile among his kind. Begin the broadcast, he ordered. Across Earth, regular programming was interrupted. Commander Kang's face appeared on screens worldwide. People of Earth, he began. Your planet now belongs to the Vraxian hegemony. Your resources will serve our empire. Your people will labor in our factories. Resistance is pointless, Kang continued. We have disabled your primitive weapon systems. Our troops will land within the hour. Those who surrender will live as servants. Those who resist will not live at all. He ended the transmission confidently. Like 46 species, before them, humans would now understand the true purpose of first contact. But something unexpected happened. Earth's military didn't panic. Instead, a coordinated response began immediately. Sir, human defense systems are activating worldwide, reported Lieutenant Yuna. They're not using the communication network we provided. Kang frowned. Impossible. Our technology should have compromised their systems. Sir, they appear to be using a parallel network we knew nothing about. Around the globe, massive shield generators activated over major cities. These weren't Vraxian technology. They were human-made, reverse-engineered, but with significant improvements. Admiral Junho of Earth's Unified Defense Force gave the order. Launch countermeasures. Space stations that the Vraxians had believed were civilian research facilities revealed hidden weapon systems. Satellites changed position, forming a defensive grid. The humans had been preparing all along. The first battle still went poorly, for humanity. Vraxian weapons were more powerful, their ships faster, but humans fought with unexpected tactics, using the terrain of their own solar system in ways that confused Vraxian battle computers. They're retreating too easily, Yuna told Commander Kang as human forces pulled back from certain areas. It doesn't match their psychological profile. Kang dismissed her concerns. They recognize their inevitable defeat. Begin landing troops. Transport. Ships descended toward Earth's surface, targeting government centers and military bases. Most were now seemingly abandoned. In an underground command center beneath Seoul, President Lee watched the landings on multiple screens. Are the floors ready? She asked. Dr. Kim nodded. All installations are equipped. Project Flooring is active. Kang himself joined the ground assault on the United Nations headquarters in New York. It had symbolic value. Conquering the center of human international governance would break their spirit. The building appears empty, reported the scout team. No resistance detected. Kang led his elite warriors through the silent halls. Spread out. Secure the General Assembly. The Vraxians moved with confidence, their foot sensors giving them perfect awareness of their surroundings. They could detect the smallest vibrations through the floor, allowing them to navigate even in complete darkness. In a hidden bunker 50 meters below the UN building, Dr. Kim watched the alien troops. On security feeds, she waited until they had spread throughout the building. Activate the floors, she said quietly. An engineer pressed a sequence of buttons. Nothing visible happened, but on the screens, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The Vraxian soldiers suddenly stumbled. Some fell to their knees. Others spun in confusion, crashing into walls. Commander Kang himself froze mid-step, his face contorted in what humans recognized as extreme pain. The specially designed flooring had activated, generating electromagnetic patterns specifically calibrated to overwhelm Vraxian foot sensors. What had been their greatest advantage was now their worst vulnerability. Through pounding pain, Kang tried to issue orders. Retreat. Back to ships. But his soldiers couldn't walk. Their sensory organs were being bombarded with contradictory inputs, making coordination impossible. Some crawled, trying to escape the maddening signals coming through the floor. Human special forces, wearing boots, insulated against the effect, emerged from hidden rooms. They carried non-lethal weapons and quickly secured the disoriented aliens. Similar scenes played out worldwide. The Vraxian ground invasion, their tried and true method of conquering planets, had been completely neutralized by floors. In the command center, President Lee received reports of successful captures across the globe. "Send the message to their fleet," she ordered. Dr. Kim's face replaced Commander Kang's on the emergency broadcast. She addressed the remaining Vraxian ships. "Your ground forces have been captured. Your commander is our prisoner. We offer you one chance to surrender." The Vraxian fleet, suddenly without leadership and facing an enemy far more prepared than expected, faced a choice they had never encountered before: the possibility of defeat by a supposedly primitive species. Outsmarted by humans. Yes, they turned the floor into a weapon. 18 months before the invasion, Dr. Minho sat alone in his lab, studying the strange material the Vraxians had gifted to Earth. Something about it bothered him. The aliens had insisted this special flooring be installed in all buildings where they conducted meetings. Why would an advanced species care so much about floors? He wondered aloud. The answer came by accident. A junior scientist, Jai-Hae, dropped a sample of Vraxian tissue onto the special flooring. The tissue, taken from a deceased Vraxian pilot after a training accident, twitched violently when it touched the floor. "Dr. Minho, look at this," Jihi called out. They watched in amazement as the gray tissue pulsed with electrical activity. Dr. Minho carefully examined the sample under a microscope. "This isn't random," he said. "The tissue is responding to something in the floor." This discovery led to weeks of intense research. The team worked in secret, away from the Vraxian advisors who now wandered freely through most human facilities. Dr. Minho presented his findings to a small group of world leaders and scientists. "The Vraxians have evolved on a planet with constant electromagnetic storms," he explained. "Their feet contain specialized organs that can detect tiny changes in electromagnetic fields." He showed scans of Vraxian foot anatomy. Complex networks of sensitive cells covered their soles, connecting directly to their nervous system. "This gives them incredible advantages," he continued. "They always know exactly where they are. They can feel the smallest vibrations through any surface. In battle, they can sense opponents moving even behind walls." President Lee leaned forward. "But how does this help us?" "Because," Dr. Minho said with a small smile, "what evolved as an advantage can become a weakness. These sensors cannot be turned off. The Vraxians process all foot input automatically." He switched to video footage of tests conducted on the tissue samples. When exposed to rapidly changing electromagnetic patterns, the tissue becomes overloaded. The nervous system cannot process the information fast enough. General Do Yun, Earth's military commander, looked skeptical. "You're suggesting we can defeat an advanced alien species by messing with their feet?" "Exactly," Dr. Minho replied. "It would be like if someone could overload your eyes with impossible images or your ears with sounds that scramble your brain." The research team began developing special flooring that could generate electromagnetic patterns designed specifically to overwhelm Vraxian sensory organs. They called it Project Flooring. 6 months into the project, they captured a Vraxian scout during a covert operation. The alien had been mapping an important military installation while posing as a cultural exchange officer. Under controlled conditions, they tested their prototype floor. The result exceeded expectations. The moment the Vraxian stepped onto the activated floor, he collapsed in agony, unable to maintain balance or coordinate movement. Their greatest strength is now their greatest weakness, Dr. Minho told President Lee. But we face two challenges. First, we need to install this flooring everywhere the Vraxians might go during an invasion. Second, we need to keep them from discovering our plan. The solution came from an unexpected source. Jihi suggested, "What if we let them install their own special floors, but we modify them?" The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Humans would agree to all Vraxian requests for special flooring in important buildings, but secretly install the modified version that could switch between normal operation and the disruptive pattern. Their own arrogance will be their downfall, President Lee said. They'll never suspect we've turned their technology against them. Over the next 2 years, as the Vraxians believed they were preparing Earth for conquest, humans were setting a trap in plain sight. Every government building, military installation, and strategic location was equipped with the special flooring, appearing to cooperate with Vraxian requests while actually preparing for defense. Dr. Minho worked tirelessly to improve the technology. The final version could be activated remotely and would affect Vraxians without harming humans. "It's ready," he told President Lee, just 1 week before the Vraxian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit. "When they come, they'll walk right into our trap." As Commander Kang prepared his invasion fleet, he had no idea that humans had spent years studying his species' biology, finding the one weakness the Vraxians never thought to hide. After conquering 46 species, they had grown careless, never imagining that a primitive species could turn something as simple as a floor into a devastating weapon. Outsmarted by humans. Yes, they turned the floor into a weapon, the Vraxian. Ground forces entered Earth's major cities with confidence. They had conquered 46 planets using the same tactics. The humans had put up a fight in space but now seemed to have abandoned their most important buildings. Commander Kang led his elite warriors through the empty halls of the United Nations headquarters in New York. The building was silent, with no humans in sight. Perfect lighting and climate control showed that the power still worked. "Spread out and secure all levels," Kang ordered. "Their leaders must be hiding somewhere." Lieutenant Yuna moved carefully, her sensitive feet detecting the subtle electromagnetic fields that told her exactly where walls, doors, and furniture were located. Even in complete darkness, Vraxians could navigate perfectly thanks to their special foot sensors. "Sir, there are no human life signs in the building," she reported. "It appears they have fled." Kang frowned. This was unusual. In previous conquests, the local species always tried to defend their government centers. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't place what. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. Vraxian forces entered seemingly abandoned buildings in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and other capitals. Military bases stood empty. The humans had apparently given up without a fight. In an underground command center 50 meters below Seoul, Dr. Minho watched the alien troops on hundreds of screens. President Lee stood beside him, her face tense. "Wait until they're fully committed," Dr. Minho advised. "Let them spread throughout all the buildings." President Lee nodded. "All defense personnel are wearing the special boots?" "Yes," Dr. Minho confirmed. "The insulated boots will protect our people from any effects." On the screens, they could see Vraxian soldiers moving deeper into human facilities worldwide. In the UN General Assembly Hall, Commander Kang stood on the central platform, preparing to broadcast his victory speech. "Now," President Lee said quietly. Dr. Minho pressed a single button. Around the world, the specially modified floors activated, simultaneously. In the UN building, Commander Kang suddenly stumbled mid-sentence. His legs seemed to give out beneath him. Around the hall, his warriors collapsed to the ground, some screaming in a language humans couldn't understand. The floor beneath them pulsed with invisible electromagnetic patterns specifically designed to overwhelm Vraxian foot sensors. What had evolved as an advantage on their storm-filled homeworld became unbearable torture on Earth. "What is happening?" Kang gasped, trying to rise but failing. His entire nervous system seemed to be on fire, bombarded with sensory input he couldn't process. Hidden doors opened throughout the building. Human soldiers emerged wearing heavy boots with thick rubber soles. They moved easily across the same floors that had incapacitated the aliens. "Commander Kang," said General Do-yun, approaching the fallen alien leader. "Earth accepts your surrender." Similar scenes unfolded worldwide. Vraxian forces found themselves unable to stand, much less fight. Their weapons fell from their hands as they writhed on the ground, overwhelmed by the signals coming through their feet. In the Pentagon, a Vraxian captain tried to crawl toward the exit, dragging himself with his arms, while his legs spasmed uselessly. "The floor," he gasped into his communicator. "They've done something to the floor." In Moscow, Lieutenant Yuna managed to pull herself onto a desk, breaking contact with the floor. The relief was immediate but temporary. She was trapped, unable to move from her small safe island. "Warning to all ships," she transmitted. "Do not land troops. The humans have weaponized their floors." But it was too late. Across Earth, the entire Vraxian ground invasion force had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. In the Seoul Command Center, President Lee watched as human forces easily captured the incapacitated aliens. "How long will the effect last?" she asked. "As long as they remain in contact with the floor," Dr. Minho replied. "We've installed the same technology in detention facilities. They won't be able to escape." On the main screen, they could see Commander Kang being helped into a hover chair that kept him from touching the ground. His face showed a mixture of pain, confusion, and the first emotion humans had ever seen on a Vraxian face: fear. "Send the message to their fleet," President Lee ordered. "Show them what has happened to their ground forces." "Communications officer." Suman nodded and began broadcasting footage of the captured Vraxians to the ship still orbiting Earth. The humans had turned the floor, the most basic part of any building, into a weapon that had defeated an advanced alien species in minutes. Outsmarted by humans. Yes, they turned the floor into a weapon. The Vraxian fleet commander received the transmission with disbelief. On screen after screen, elite Vraxian warriors lay helpless on the floors of Earth's buildings. Commander Kang himself, captured and confined to a hover chair, delivered the surrender message. "The humans have discovered our biological weakness," Kang explained, his voice filled with shame. "Do not attempt further ground assaults. They have turned our evolutionary advantage against us." On the flagship's bridge, the fleet commander faced an impossible decision. The Vraxian hegemony had never retreated, never surrendered. But they had also never faced an enemy who could incapacitate their forces without firing a shot. "We still have orbital superiority," Admiral Jiho argued. "We can bombard their cities from space." Before they could decide, Earth's defense forces launched their counterattack. Space fighters emerged from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. But what terrified the Vraxians were the special missiles these ships carried. The first Vraxian cruiser hit by these weapons reported something strange before going silent. When nearby ships sent boarding parties to investigate, they found the entire crew incapacitated, lying on the floors of their own vessel. "They've weaponized it for space combat," the fleet commander realized with horror. The human missiles didn't destroy ships. They released particles coated with the same material as their special flooring. These particles spread throughout the ship's ventilation system, settling on every surface. Captain Minsu led the first human boarding party onto a disabled Vraxian destroyer. His team wore their insulated boots, moving easily among the helpless. "Alien crew, secure the engine room and bridge," he ordered. "Remember, they're more scared than dangerous now." Within 3 days, half the Vraxian fleet had been captured intact. The remaining ships tried to retreat, but many were too slow to escape Earth's newly enhanced defense grid. News of the unprecedented defeat spread quickly through the Galactic Consortium. Species that had lived under Vraxian rule for generations could hardly believe it. Humans, newcomers to galactic society, had defeated the mighty hegemony with simple floor technology. On the Vraxian homeworld, the High Council faced uncomfortable questions. If humans could discover and exploit this weakness so quickly, what would stop other species from doing the same? The answer came soon enough. Previously subjugated planets began manufacturing the special floor material based on human designs. Rebellions erupted across the hegemony, as former slaves turned the Vraxians' own biology against them. 1 month after the failed invasion of Earth, representatives from 47 species gathered at the United Nations. The Vraxian Empire had collapsed almost overnight. Ambassador Soman addressed the gathered delegates from across the galaxy. Humanity did not seek this conflict. We defended ourselves against an aggressor who underestimated us. Now we seek peace and cooperation among all species. The former subject races applauded. Many had suffered centuries of Vraxian rule. They looked at humans with new respect, and some fear. Any species that could defeat the Vraxians so easily was not to be taken lightly. Dr. Minho established the Center for Unconventional Defense Strategies, sharing knowledge with friendly species, while researching protective measures against similar vulnerabilities in human biology. Every species has strengths that can become weaknesses, he explained. Understanding this is the key to true galactic peace. 6 months after the invasion, Earth was granted the Vraxians' former seat on the Galactic Council. Human diplomats found themselves suddenly respected and influential in cosmic affairs. The final proof of humanity's new reputation came during the first meeting of the reformed Galactic Council. As Ambassador Somin entered the chamber, she noticed something unusual. Every alien delegate carefully checked the floor material before taking their seats. "They're afraid we've booby-trapped the council chamber," whispered her aide. Somin smiled. "They'll learn. Humans don't want conquest. We want cooperation." But the ambassador knew that the galaxy would always remember. Humans were the species creative enough to turn something as simple as a floor into a weapon. It was a reputation that would protect Earth for generations to come.